Welcome back to Wine Talk Wednesday. I am sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Alex Sokol Blosser. Alex, welcome.
Cheers, Levi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Well, you've dined with us quite a few times in the last couple of years.
Yep.
Thank you for your support.
I've been coming to the Joel Palmer house ever since Chris's dad opened it. I'll never forget because I used to be open for lunch, and Chris's dad made and he corrected me because when it came out, it looked like it was a Philly cheesesteak. But he's like, absolutely not. This is a Reading cheesesteak. And he said, this is Philly cheesesteak and a Reading cheesesteak are totally different things. We're from Reading. This is a far superior cheesesteak.
I'm not a Reading cheesesteak.
Well, it was probably one of the better things I've ever put in my mouth. So I remember coming here for lunch and getting the Reading cheesesteak, and it was quite delicious. So, and I know that is many moons ago. But in addition to all the wonderful mushroom dishes you guys do, you just know that's in the back pocket somewhere. I bet Chris can whip out the Reading cheesesteak if need be.
So we appreciate your support. And speaking of delicious things, of course we have a bunch of your wine downstairs.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I actually pulled up some bottles here.
Some older ones. This is fun.
Some older stuff. We have 3,000 bottles downstairs, about 700 different selections in total. Thank you again, obviously, for supplying such an awesome vertical to our program. With some more notable vintages I thought we'd pull out. 2001, 2007 was one of my favorites, and then more unique vintage about 2013. A lot of our guests that dine here don't oftentimes understand what to expect from a glass of older Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
They're not entirely sure that it can age for super long, and they're just not usually certain of what to expect in a glass.
Yeah.
Everyone's winemaking styles are different. I know your family's been here for quite a long time, kind of some of the
1971.
Yeah.
Was when
my
parents planting grapes in the Dundee Hills. So,
dang.
53rd year here.
Well, can you tell us about that?
Well, the Sokol Blosser history is similar to a lot of the other people who started here. It started with a lot of passion and not a lot of knowledge. So, but nothing great is ever achieved without enthusiasm. So there was a lot of enthusiasm from my parents, a lot of passion. They did a lot of research, and they also got lucky because when they originally ran into Dick Eras, who was very helpful in terms of giving my mom and dad encouragement and kind of opening my mom and dad up to the community that also included our next door neighbor, David Lett, which then also included Dick and Nancy Ponzi and David and Ginny Avelsheim.
Lots of big names.
Yeah, I mean, back then it was a pretty small industry. Really small. Could fit in the living room. And now it's such a dynamic industry. Now it's exploded from maybe the first 5 or 6 to now hundreds. 900 wineries, I think, in the state of Oregon, or it was pushing 1,000 at one point. So it's been pretty mercurial in terms of how it's increased. But one thing that is always in the backdrop and the foundation of the industry is that passion for trying to make Pinot Noir that inspires the world. And that's why you have a lot of people coming here from all over the United States, all over the world, that want to set up shop in the Willamette Valley because we can make compelling Pinot Noir. It's not just good Pinot Noir, it's not just great Pinot Noir, it's something that actually rings the bell. It's like, wow, what is this? I don't know what this is, but man, it's really, really good.
Oregon's now on the international map for, I think, one of the top destinations in the world for Oregon, for Pinot Noir in general. Yeah. So we're right up there next to Burgundy now for high quality and outstanding Pinot.
Well, and wine is food, and so when I was growing up, wine was always on the table for dinner, especially when it was part of the meal. And what has been truly extraordinary is the fine dining that it has brought. I mean, Chris's dad could have taken the Joel Palmer house and set it up anywhere he wanted to. But what brought him here was the lure of mushrooms because mushrooms was a big thing about what they did in Pennsylvania. And where else to look for mushrooms than here in Oregon? And just because of the rain and the climate. And it's been a gift that the Zarnecki family came here and set up shop. And 28 years, I didn't know it was that long. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that is one thing that's special about our area is Pinot Noir, but it's mushrooms as well. I mean, the soul food of our area, in my mind, is salmon and mushrooms. Those are the things that, in my mind, when people say what pairs best with Pinot Noir.
Well, there's
those two things.
What goes together.
Boom.
I mean, that's been something in the somm community for decades. Is French food, French wine, Italian food, Italian wine. It's like, okay, Pacific Northwest food, hazelnuts, Oregon, salmon, mushrooms. All these different types of leafy greens and vegetables. Like what goes together. So
that is so true. That is so true. Because and the Zarnecki family has proved that over the decades.
So how did you get into the wine?
So
the
easy answer is I was born into it because I'm only 50, so the winery predates me, and so growing up in the industry, it wasn't a normal upbringing, and so being exposed to, because the wine industry is a number of businesses in one. So we're farmers, so we're agricultural. We're manufacturing because we take the ag product and add a lot of value to it and make it into something like this.
And you're chemist.
And well, there's definitely some chemistry in the production of it, the winemaking, and then so the third part of the business is sales and marketing, because you can make great wine, but if you can't sell it, you're nowhere. So you have to do all three. You've got the ag side, the manufacturing side, and the sales side, and they're each very, very difficult. And no one gets in the wine business thinking that, oh, I'm getting in the wine business so I can sell wine. No. That's usually most people's least favorite thing to do, is they get into the business because they're passionate about usually either the grape growing or in the winemaking. Sometimes both. So growing up in the business, I got exposure to all three of those facets. Usually working harvest as a kid, that's usually the first thing that you're allowed to do, is you can drive a tractor in the vineyard, you can work harvest, which you're always needed to. Everyone, you always have to harvest. Is such an intensive labor time that the parents would take any and all work that they could, free labor that they could get. So just growing up, working harvest, working in the vineyard, just started rubbing off on me. And then eventually I'm like, wow, why would I do anything else? I love this business. It's kind of like when you're a rock in the middle of a creek, you don't know it, but the river water is slowly shaping you, right? And I never realized, and my parents weren't intentional about saying, hey, you need to be in the business. I just was there. I experienced the business. I go into the parties. I went to the events. I would travel with my parents when they would go to work the market or visit California and visit vineyards and whatnot.
Yeah, it was never like Alex, you're going to be integrated now. It's just, you just kind of grew up,
right,
built into it.
Right. I remember, I went to grade school here at Dayton and most of my high school here at Dayton. And I remember we did a family vacation down in Napa. That was our vacation. We went down to Napa, and then we visited Mondavi.
Nice.
And I bought a Mondavi T-shirt. And back in the '80s, you couldn't wear any. Probably now you can't wear any alcohol paraphernalia T-shirts. But the Robert Mondavi T-shirt was Robert Mondavi in cursive, so it was very hard to read. It was his signature with a picture of the tasting room. So I wore it to school thinking no one would notice. But a teacher pulled me aside and said, Alex, I know what that T-shirt is. You are never going to wear that again. And I'm like, okay, you found me out. I'm sorry. But it was, growing up in this community, back then in the 80s, it wasn't, the wine industry was pretty much still very small, very burgeoning, and it wasn't really considered part of the fabric of the community, like it is now.
So when did you sort of take over then as full-time winemaker for the estate?
So when did I become the winemaker? So I became winemaker in 2012.
Okay, great vintage.
And lucky, yes, that I became winemaker in 2012. That was purely luck. And then actually my last vintage as the full-time winemaker was 2021, because recently I became president of the winery because my sister was CEO and she stepped down about a year and a half ago. So I took over as president a year and a half ago. And so when that happened, I had to hand over the winemaking, because winemaking, you got to really focus on that. Yeah. So it's hard to run the show and be winemaker. So my associate winemaker at the time became winemaker. So Robin Howell is now our winemaker.
Nice.
So of the wines you have here, I made the 2013, and then our previous winemaker made the 2001 and 2007. I worked the harvest of 01 and I worked the harvest of 07, so I'm familiar with those vintages, but I wasn't the winemaker until 2012, which was an amazing vintage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, what can you sort of tell us, like what can guests expect popping a cork in something like 2001 Sokol Blosser, 2013?
An older vintage, yeah. I mean, I think what the first thing you're going to notice, especially when you're working with the Oregon Pinot Noir glass, is you're going to, stemware is kind of like, if you're into music, it's like your speaker, right? If you have a shitty speaker and you like music, it's not going to sound as good. But if you have really nice speakers, you're going to hear everything. You're going to appreciate more of the music. Same thing with a wine glass. You can totally drink wine out of a Dixie cup. You want to drink out of a Dixie cup? You go for it, man.
I'm not stopping.
It's all cold. But it'll only showcase the wine so much, just like if you play your favorite song on your iPhone. It'll be okay, it'll be tingly, but you can still listen to it and jam to it. It works.
Yeah.
But with with a nice glass, with nice stemware, and you can really appreciate more of the wine. You smell more of it, you can see more of it. And you don't have to drink out of it, but you just, like a nice speaker, man, if you want to listen to your tunes. So what you're going to notice with an older wine right off the bat is it won't be as bright in color. Like you poured us a 2022, it is nice, bright purple. The purple really bounces, and you can see it. It's young, it's lively, it's got great color. An older wine, it'll have oxidized. Oxygen will have seeped into the wine. And so it might be a little bit more brownish in color. It might, and that's okay. That's normal. So it won't be as bright purple as a brand new vintage. So that's the first thing you're going to notice, is the wine isn't going to be as bright purple. The second thing you're going to notice is usually the aromatics really develop in a wine as it ages. And so you're going to go, younger wine, aromatics take time to develop. And with an older wine, there's going to be a lot of aromatics. And there might be some aromatics that you might not, right now you smell fruit. You might smell a little bit of the oak. But when it gets older, you get more complex aromatics that come across as more like mushroomy, more forest floor,
More nuanced.
more nuanced. You might be some, you go into an old barn. It's not like you smell the horse shit, but you go in an old barn, you can smell, the age of the wood, the dust. There's kind of a barnyard
Complexity.
to it. It's different. I mean, that's a complexing of the aromatics. And then the flavor, usually as a wine ages, it's kind of like us as human beings. Usually, as we get older, we mellow out. All right, our sharp edges are a little bit rounder, and that's usually what happens with an older wine. It'll be a little bit rounder, a little bit smoother. The youthfulness, the springiness of the wine will be a lot more reduced. There's still going to be fruit in the wine. So we're just going to have the wine will be a little bit more complete and basically kind of showing you everything it's got. And usually with an older wine, there's a point where, it gets better and better and better. And usually there's a point where it's like, all right, you should probably drink it because it's not going to really get me better. It really will start losing some of the either the fruit or the acid will just be done so.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we love the Sokol Blosser wines. Whenever guests come in and they're looking for, a classic Dundee Hills Pinot Noir.
Well, right on.
And they're talking about, I like, bright kind of like red cherry, more like somewhat savory qualities sometimes, but we like that bright acid and we want something a little more mellow tan, also something super dark. What do you recommend? And we were like, well, we got to go to some of the top estates that are been Dundee Hills since the Dundee Hills were established. So Sokol Blosser is one of those.
Well, thanks, Levi. I mean, again, when you get Sokol Blosser, it's not going to be the biggest Pinot Noir you put in your mouth. We don't tend. That's one of the aspects that we pride ourselves in. Is like, listen, there are styles of Pinot Noir where people are maybe getting it riper, or they're trying to get a more elevated approach.
Sure.
For us, it's we are picking later than we were. We are getting the fruit riper than we were in the 70s and 80s, just because we're the climate change. But we're still, relative to a lot of the other producers, we're still realizing, hey man, it's about the acid, it's about the food pairing. We're not trying to overpower what you're eating, we're trying to enhance it. So sometimes if a wine gets, especially a Pinot Noir, gets too big, it's like it takes center stage, where it's about 1 + 1 = 3. Whereas wine and the food together, it's like, whoa, this went to a whole different place, and it's kind of exciting. And that's why wine and food pairing is going to be really, really, really fun.
Well, you make quite a few types of wines. Also, you have a few different labels as well.
We do.
Talk to me about the evolution.
Yeah. So we have our wines that we make from our estate. So which are the wines right here, our Pinot Noir, and we farm 130 acres of grapes, and it's all certified organic. We're organic farmers, and but then we also have a label called Evolution, which is all about sourcing fruit, sourcing wine, and blending that and trying to achieve a consistent flavor profile year in, year out. And the goal of Evolution is just try to drive as much value as we can into a bottle of wine, because not everyone is drinking, these retail in that $50 price point. Not everyone drinks that every day, whereas Evolution is more in that $15 to $20 price.
It's a little more approachable.
It's more approachable. It's value.
Market.
Well, it's even. I find myself, I'm not drinking $50 bottles of wine. I like to, find something that's more of an everyday quaffer that's not going to make me think. These wines are going to make you think. Aromatics, the finish. The longer the finish, the more it's talking to you and trying to have a conversation. With Evolution, these are wines that aren't going to make you think. They're just yummy. They're not going to have long conversations on the finish.
Drinkers, not thinkers.
Drinkers, not thinkers. So there you go, man. I like it. So, and Evolution is all about, again, it's more of a value thing. And, there's value at all price points. But, with Evolution, we're just trying to make something that's easy to understand, easy to drink, and that has some consistency. So, yeah.
Well, Alex, appreciate your support as always.
Oh my God, dude.
One more question for you, though.
Yeah.
If you could tell anyone listening, watching in, anything about your wines. So what's one thing you want them to know about Sokol Blosser, the estate, yourself, the wines?
I think we in the wine industry do ourselves a disservice by making it so damn complicated and sometimes pretty damn intimidating. One thing I want everyone to know is just try it. Just try. The more you try in wine, the more you're going to appreciate it. It's like anything, and I'm not an expert in wine, even though I own a winery and used to be a winemaker. There's something new to learn all the time, and that's okay.
That's the industry. Learning, that's the best part.
Learning's the best part. And if you think the wine is good, guess what? Then it's good. Don't let someone else tell you, oh, that wine's not good. If you like it, guess what? You like it.
Best wine in the world is the one you like the best.
Exactly. So just don't take wine too seriously, everybody. Just, if it works for you, it works for you. Because if you say you don't like wine, that just means you haven't found the wine that is just right for you. Because there's a beautiful world of wine out there that's just waiting for you.
Well, you heard it. Whether it's 2001, 2007, or 2013, just try it.
Just try it, man.
Cheers.
Don't fight it. Right on. Thanks, Levi.